Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Colleen Marie Coyne, and I'm so honored to have my beautiful soul sister in business, Beth Noel, today. We both work with a beautiful company called 𝐂𝐸𝐿, high ticket affiliate marketing, and also known as Kangen Water. We are here I'm here to bring her on to share a bit of her journey and to have a conversation about just what her journey has been like working with this beautiful business model, and then also sharing a little bit about her background, what her background is, and the vision that we're here to create. So Beth has a very eclectic and diverse background. She was in corporate and has also done lots of different things. I'll go ahead and bring her on so she can share a little bit about what her background is and what really made you say yes to this business model as well.
Okay. Great questions. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here. And it's always great to co-create with people in this space because everyone does have awesome backgrounds, and the backgrounds don't have to be anything spectacular, like, oh, they did this, that, or the other thing. It really just means they're just open-minded people ready for something new and willing to make that, take that leap to make the change. And I was kind of hesitant. I'll be honest, right? I had a pretty lucrative 9-to-5 career. I did teach yoga and Pilates for, 5-6 years, but I got married and moved to London. And so I just kind of left what I was doing here. And that was actually one of the reasons I was interested in this business, because what happened was I built this entire business. I taught yoga. I had a studio for Pilates. I did massage all over town. I had VIP clients. And I left the whole thing. There was no way for me to monetize it because it wasn't big enough. There was no way for me to really, I just gave my clients away to people. I even gave money back to some of my clients that were paying me monthly when I left. So I was like, okay, I don't ever want to work that hard at something. And I didn't work hard, but I also wasn't building any kind of legacy income. If I wasn't working, I wasn't making money. And I didn't like that about it, and of course, with a 9-to-5, you're still trading time for money, but you do have some perks. You have benefits, you have, you have some paid time off, those types of things, even though you have to ask for that time off and things like that. But there was still more benefits for me to go back to the 9-to-5 world. So I did. And I did that for 13 years until I found this. And when I found this, it was literally, okay, so I found it through a friend of mine. I was watching her online, actually, and I reached out to her. She did not reach out to me. And that's the whole traction marketing thing that we talk about here. And I said, what are you doing? And she's like, oh, well, here, watch this. And I was like, watch what? And she's like, watch this webinar. And I'm like, okay, and it took me a little while to watch the webinar. So, I get it when someone hands you something and you're like, I don't know about this, just watch it. Because I will tell you, when I finally did, I was like, oh, whoa, what is this? I could tell immediately these were my people. I could tell immediately this was something I wanted to do. And I didn't even know what it was. I didn't know how I was going to do it. I didn't know what it was about. I had never been online. I had 700 people, right? That were my friends, family, whatever, on my Facebook page. And my Facebook page was totally locked down. It was private, the whole thing. I did build for 1.5 years with a private Facebook page. So only the people that were my friends could see my content, and I did make sales. Okay. So it is totally possible to come in here not knowing how to do any of this, not having any kind of following, and really having no sales skills at all, because I still am working on my sales skills, but I have made loads of sales. I'm in the top 20%. Of my my business, and you don't get to that just by sitting around, right? There is work, and it doesn't matter if you do this sort of work or you do the work that your boss is telling you. It is work, right? But there's a different way of creating income, and there's a higher compensation for those that stick with it and those that don't quit. So basically the world shut down. I finally signed the papers. I mean, I literally, that weekend, there was this big event going on in Australia for some of our Australian team, and some of our American team was there. And I was like, oh my God, that looks so exciting. I signed the papers and my friend gave me like a free online ticket. So I was watching the event online. And that Sunday, if you didn't get a plane out of Australia, you were going to be stuck there, which no one really knew that at the time. But now that we know, I can say that, like, there were hundreds of people at that event, like hundreds of people outside of Australia. There was loads of Australians there, but there were people from all over the world. So anyway, I also did this business while I was working and had 2 kids at home. One of them I was potty training. So when someone also says to me, you know, oh, I don't have time, I'm like, well, I was running a team at a financial firm in their marketing department. And I was, you know, running around after 2 children. You know, one of them was in school. She was in kindergarten. And the other one, like I said, was running around trying to, hoping she wasn't peeing on the floor somewhere. So, you know, when someone says, well, I don't know if I have time, I'm like, well, you know, I get it, but it's a matter of like there's this thing called the teachability quotient. Like, what are you willing to give up in order to have what you want? Right. I mean, I really haven't watched much TV in the last 4 years. I started my business 4 years ago. Is it something that I gave up because I'm like, oh, I have to do this, I cannot watch television? No, it just sort of started. I started watching trainings. I got more interested in learning about the water. And so I watch a lot of documentaries about water. And suddenly you just start to do things so that you can become that thing that you want to be. Like, it's not really an effort. It's not like when you go into your office job or your job, whatever job you have, it's an office or whatever, but you have a boss that says, well, you have to do this today. And you're like, oh, I just don't really want to do that. You know, there is nothing about this job or this role or this thing that we do online that I don't like. I mean, there's a few things, I suppose, but I mean, I don't love like having to post every single day all the time, but you don't have to, right? So like you get a cadence with that as well. But anyway, I think I've gotten off on a tangent, but that's kind of how I started. Like it was definitely not about lack of money for me. I wasn't looking necessarily for a second stream of income. I was really looking for time.
Yeah.
And I have gotten that back. I spent 2.5 years with my kids, you know, because like I actually got let go from that job in 2021, and I built my business quite a bit in the last 2.5 years, went back to a little bit of a contract gig a couple months ago. And now I'm back to doing whatever. I actually had an event with my children today that I could go see. So, you know, it's just an ever growing, ever evolving business. And it does change and shift even how you build it. So when someone says to me, when, you know, they get started, they're like, how? And I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter about the how. What matters is your why. So why did you start? I wanted more time, you know, and also part of it, and I didn't realize this until a couple of years in, for me became about like really, how do I say, like really being able to speak my truth. Like I really built a lot of confidence being online. And that's not because I was doing nude photos or doing anything that like hanging my dirty laundry, saying all the stuff. Like, it's not even about that. Like some people think like that's what it is, because you do see that online sometimes and you're like, ooh, that's kind of cringy, right? But you can tell your stories, even if they're tough stories and very vulnerable stories to tell, in a way that will actually help people. And then people will be attracted to you because they're like, wow, you know, I'm going through that as well. Like, that was so brave of you to say that. And then, but you get to a point where you're like, was that really that brave? Like, I really needed to get that off my chest today, you know? And you start to feel like, well, that's just something, it's just a part of who I am. And I want to be who that is to the people that I'm talking to. And I want to bring in my tribe that know and understand me and know what they're going to get when they get here. You know, like I don't want to work with people that don't agree with me, or, and I mean, there's going to be people that, you know what I mean? I'm not like someone like, no, you have to believe everything I believe. I'm just saying, you know, there's going to be people that you're going to resonate with, and there's going to be people you're not going to resonate with. And that's okay, because there are hundreds of millions of people in this world, and all of them could use extra money and better health. You know, I don't know anybody in this world right now that couldn't use those two things. So yeah.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, you just shared so much gold.
Sorry.
And it really is about the empowerment journey. Like you're empowering not only yourself to evolve and to grow and to learn, but you're also empowering others.
Yeah.
And I feel like, yeah, it's so important to be able to share our journey and share our story. And otherwise that, you know, there's a lot of people, it's like they don't actually share or leave their legacy. And
yeah,
I think that's a huge part of really seeing with the technology now of being able to actually share our journey and document the journey rather, and show people that it's not thinking about doing it, it's actually doing the thing. It's just
it's actually just implementing. It's like you can read like 1,000 books, but think about how many books you've read on things that maybe you wanted to do or tips and tricks. And then you're like, well, that didn't work. And I'm like, well, how much did you implement? You know?
Exactly. Yeah. And I love that you were already thinking ahead of the game, like in 2020, that you actually made the decision to start this business before you ended up losing your job in 2021.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have done it without having a job. I wouldn't have just, you know, but, and I don't think this would have been something I would have jumped into without a job at all. And I mean, there's different people in the world though, right? But I did lose my job, could have gone and got another job, and I didn't, because I was like, you know, when I started my yoga business, the same thing happened. We actually all got let go, and I lived off severance and built my yoga business up. So, you know, everybody does things differently. You know, there's no right or wrong way to go about this, but I will tell you, and this is something I've learned over the years, you can't build a business from lack. So if you're really in a lack mindset, and that's not just like lack mindset because you have no money flow, you might have money coming in, but you still have a mindset of like, oh, I have no money, and money making is hard, and oh, money is only for rich people. Or, you know, if you have these stories running around in your head, it will be harder to create a second stream of income or really bust through the barrier of whatever you're at, which some people it's only $1,000 in their bank account, some it's 10,000, and then suddenly it raises to 20K, you know, every month. But you know what I mean? Like you won't ever break your barrier if you have sort of a resistance to creating more income and actually, I don't know, loving up money. You know, I mean, money is there to be loved. It's an energy, you know, it's really a tool. It's not really the end goal. And if someone says they're motivated by money, I would question their motivation, because, you know, money really is something that can get you where you need to go. It's not necessarily something that would motivate. I mean, there's got to be something deeper that's motivating you, because you know, there's a lot of rich people in the world that are very miserable, right? So you don't want to go into something being miserable either. You know, you really want to do something because it feels good and feels in alignment. And some people making, you know, between 3,000 and 5,000 a month is enough for whatever it is that they want to do with their life. Like you don't need to be a millionaire to be happy, but money helps, and having money to do the things you love to do and having excess money is always wonderful. I'm a big believer in money. So
exactly. And it's about thinking outside of the box and surrounding yourself with other people who are the expanders in your life. And I love that you just mentioned, you know, even just an extra $3,000 to $5,000 per month is like one sale once you get to the top of the compensation plan, which isn't that many sales in. So, you know, just to do a little comparison between low ticket and high ticket, because you did do a little bit of low ticket and high ticket. What was the biggest difference for you between working with the low ticket company and this?
Okay. Biggest difference was, well, one, I mean, the compensation, I mean, hands down, you know, I did the low ticket because I was still teaching yoga and Pilates. And I just thought it would sort of be, you know, another thing that I would actually add to my roster of things, you know, because I had yoga and Pilates and I did massage. But basically with the low ticket, I realized it just turned into like a whole other job, and it was a lot of hustle, and I wasn't hustling with my yoga business. Like I was making plenty of money, and I mean, I don't know. I never felt like I was hustling for whatever reason. And it was like my yoga business would dip when I would try to raise the low ticket, but the low ticket wasn't making me nearly as much money as my yoga business. So it just didn't align after a few years. And I wound up losing a lot of money. And there are people that make loads of money in that, but it just didn't line up. And there was that whole thing where you lost rank. And so like I would do really well one month, and then I would lose my rank, and so like the compensation would drop again. And it was just sort of this up and down, and you just never felt like you were getting really ahead. And it just doesn't happen like that with this.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and thank you so much for speaking to that. So with low ticket, yeah, there's the monthly qualifications, low ticket commissions, anywhere from $10 to $80 on average per sale, and having to re-rank every month. We don't have any of that. We are not a traditional MLM. We're a direct sales. This is direct sales. And so
Yeah.
the beauty of the high ticket affiliate offer is that there's no deranking. You could start the business, build it to a certain level, and then leave, go do other stuff, travel, take time off, come back, and still be making the same amount of commissions.
Right.
You never move backwards. And yeah, so it's really, there's really nothing like it. And if you're curious to learn more, we do have a masterclass. You can direct message myself or Beth or whoever shared this with you to see a short masterclass that literally will show you the exact pathway that we're utilizing with 𝐂𝐸𝐻𝐿, and more about the incredible world-class training platform and academy that we utilize as well. So you don't have to have any experience. We teach you everything A to Z. But the biggest thing is actually investing the time to see the master class, and to really, if you are wanting to create financial freedom in your life, we've got to make different decisions. And so that's really the invitation here, is to just see the master class, feel if this is something that would align for you, and we'll guide you through the steps. And it's very simple, beautiful, easeful process. Do you have any final words, final thoughts, Beth, before we sign off for today?
Sure. I guess my biggest thing is like, I just hear a lot of people asking about the how. And I guess I just want to explain, like, the why is way more important. And what do I mean by the why? So basically what it is that drives you and the emotions behind it. So it's sort of like I love to travel. So when I think of like where I want to go and my next destination, I think of everything from like, I really want to be in warm water. I really want to smell like all the food and the ethnic food that they cook. So usually it's out of the country as well. I just said ethnic. So like, there's these things that subconsciously just come up, right? And so the more you can like describe that and then relate it back to like, okay, now how do I go about monetizing that? How do I go about creating a life where those things are happening more regularly than not, right? It's not necessarily about how, because like, it's not like, okay, I'll give you a great example. I have been wanting to get out of the country again. I'm not sure when that's going to happen. I might be going to Japan in June. We have a big event coming up in June. But I went to Mexico in the beginning of the year, and today I actually ran into a mom at this event that I was with my kids. And again, I've been thinking like, how am I going to get out of the country? How am I going to get out of the country? And she said to me, she's like, oh, I'm going to Mexico next week. I'm driving down, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, do you need a co-pilot? She's like, yeah. I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, why don't you come? I'm going for like 4 days. And I was like, okay. So like, I basically got invited to Mexico this morning, right? If anyone had said to me, okay, you're going to go to Mexico and this is how you're going to, like, I wouldn't have been sitting, there was no planning. It just happened, and I really believe all of the things that have happened in my life that have like really been like pivotal moments and have actually moved me forward and have been some of the happiest times of my life have been those moments where I I didn't know how I got there. It was just like I had a why, you know, like I knew I wanted to dive in the Great Barrier Reef someday. Okay. And I had that dream from when I was probably 10 years old when I like saw it in a National Geographic. Well, I eventually studied abroad over there. And even getting to studying abroad was not like this, like, how do I do this? I just was like, well, I need money. So let me get an extra job this summer. And well, I want to go to a school where I don't miss a semester at my other school. So I found a school that had, you know, so it wasn't like, how do I do this? It was just like, okay, what is my next step? And that's how you build a business online. What is my next step? Why am I doing this next step? Am I doing it to engage my audience? Am I doing it to create a sale? Am I doing it just to show my audience who I am? Okay. Am I taking this step to call this person to sell them? Am I taking this step to call them and get to know them? Like, it's all about the why. It has nothing to do about how. The how happens as you take the next step towards your why.
Exactly.
That I just feel like I can't say it enough because everyone keeps asking me how, and I'm like, I don't know what to say. So I just try to give
Aligned
as much as
action.
possible.
Yeah,
I know. And aligned action when I first started didn't make sense to me. So it does now. But it's actions in a way that feel good all the time. And really your goal in life is to wake up and feel good every day. And if you can feel good every day, then you are definitely in alignment. Right. And when you're not feeling good, what is out of alignment? And then that's where you either stop doing that or you adjust or whatever, you know.
Exactly. So, and it's about staying in our own lane. And I love the saying, like, don't compare my middle to your beginning. I'm sure a lot of leaders say that too. It comes back to like people saying, I don't know if I could do what she does because you're looking at someone who's been building this for 3 years and you're taking one step in front of the other for 3 years. Chop wood, carry water. All right. And we're building our own personal brand and we all find our own pathway, but it is through taking the action and taking the actions through going through the launch your business in our platform, the step-by-step process that we have, beautiful, luxurious process that we have, and our mentorships and staying close to the fire. So we are so thrilled to support you on this journey. Please direct message myself or Beth, the word freedom, or whoever shared this with you. Thank you so much for your time and energy today, Beth. It was so wonderful to hear more of your story, and we will be doing more of these soon. So
absolutely.
Thank you. And blessed be. We'll see you on the inside.